Okay. Hello, everyone. Okay. So, all right, guys, for tonight's episode, I guess for this episode, to be honest, I am exhausted, but there's some feeling in me that makes me feel it's too early to end the night. So, right now, I have a piece of paper. This episode is more like a brainstorming session where I'm trying to see what else can happen aside from the possibility of the advanced civilization. So, potential routes for the vision of man. So, first, what is vision and what is the vision of man? The word vision points to or equals to accessing information. The vision of man is accessing information as a human being. So when we say potential routes for the vision of man, we're wondering about What is the value of accessing information as a human being? Okay. Honestly, we have to pretty much look at what we have to work with. What is our starting point? And the potential routes are the possibilities of it. Okay. All right. Okay. Potential routes for the vision of man. The vision of man is a situation. So we actually have a puzzle or a problem or situation, call it. We have a sense of past, present, and future. The result we know, the result we want, infinite continuity. The past, it's really also continuity. Pretty much everything wants to continue, but you have 8 billion organisms. 8 billion plus. And you also have collective systems. So we're not just 8 billion organisms on a rock. We are 8 billion organisms that can adhere to organizational systems. There's one view that we can see, all right, a human being is just a human being. Or we can see a human being is an organizational effort. So the organizational effort of the organism to adjust its own world to the actual world it's in, and how well it does that, it kind of suggests whether it is conscious. See, the thing about normality is the collective agreement, right? That means it's like, what are the laws or rules, right? So like a chess game, okay? Imagine it was like a chess game, okay? Result is victory or checkmating the opponent. The pieces are the 8 billion humans, 8 billion organisms. Now, the rules of the game are, let's say, physics, or let's bring in a metaphysical angle of divination. So we're at this chessboard, okay? Or pretty much the human species has to checkmate the void by infinitely continuing. Its pieces are the 8 billion human beings. The rules of the game, there's physical laws and there's, let's say, abstract laws. Yo, why isn't this playing? Oh, there we go. So, I am challenging myself in this episode more than giving a lecture to viewers. I'm trying to see what else I can see. So, the potential routes of the vision of man suggest what man does with its current vision. but its current vision is also how it has processed the past. So you see, ultimately there's like, it's all about different levels, you know. It's like right now, if you're listening to me, I guess the kind of auditory journey I can take you through is to give you the image that, imagine all the listeners right now, just imagine all the human beings are at a designer's table. So there's a bunch of designers. There's a blueprint with a piece of there's a piece of paper on the table, a blueprint with a design, and they're all looking at this design and wondering, in accordance to my own world, what is missing, what can be added, what can be removed, and all of that, right? See, people fall into archetypes, right? And then if they're really inspired by new archetypes, they become those archetypes. Something very unique happened, at least from my perspective. I consider myself this person who was fascinated by the archetype of just talking about important stuff. But in the midst of one initiative, I found the moment reprioritized to a greater initiative. That means in the middle of the search for my own truth, I found the truth that is not a one-man job. Life is very strange. You either sacrifice your differences for commonality, or you sacrifice what's common, to make a difference, I guess. Like, it's just too easy. It is too easy to agree without checking. And when you check life, you really find an organism that's playing a game. It's like abstract missions, like a creature appeared in this world, in this land. An organism opened its eyes in this landscape, and really it's setting for itself a sort of ambition. That means some human beings, their ambition doesn't leave the inner realms. Who was it? Some famous person had said this very motivational sentence where he's like, the difference between succeeding is this: is it one day, or is it day one? Are we hoping for something to happen, or are we making something happen? There's a difference. What is vision? There's a biological vision, and then there's a vision where Henry David Thoreau says it's not what you're looking at that matters, it's what you see. To fulfill or to follow the rabbit hole of the question, what am I really seeing? Or what is really here? And you're going to realize the mind has an ability to put its attention on any archetype, but there is a reason where right now you are in the current archetype you're in. There is a reason, right? And this reason surpasses, you see, like when you want to give something an explanation, you can say, all right, it's because of the past did it, or the present's doing it now, or the future will do it, right? To wonder about destiny, to wonder about what happens, To care for the future is important, but at some point the person sees it's, you know what it is? It's honestly like you take out like those, I forget what they're called, like those old school telescopes that like pirates had. And you just take a good look of the long distance, and then you kind of zoom back out, zoom back into your reality. Pretty much I see life kind of like living for a bit, then like the eagle flies off the branch, looks at the whole forest, comes back down, lives for a bit, flies off, sees the whole forest, comes back down, until it reaches a moment where it realizes that to be of the sky is the real nature. You see, the ever presence of intelligence. Human beings know the boundaries of what happens to in human vision. So imagine that the vision that a creature has is a room. So all the stuff that's happening in the eyes of all living human beings, that's in the scope of human vision. It's a fascinating idea. It's kind of like a biological living archive, right? It's like there's 8 billion human beings, each seeing a chunk of the world the others can't. But if we choose to communicate or connect our visions, then something remarkable happens. The lessons of one life become the lessons of many, become the lesson of many. You see, what's happening in the world is it took me a while to realize it. I'm like, are things getting worse? Could it be that every person that has been born has been looking at the future and thinking it's getting worse? But when we think about it, we started off from the worst. We started off from being nothing. And the earth somehow stabilized itself. It's as if the planet Earth was given a task. There are universal forces, and then there is one true force. Think of it this way: human energy collectively being seen as a type of energy. Now, let's say if human attention is energy, where should this energy be put? Most human beings have this individual strategy of investing in their future. But the biggest issue is sometimes an individual victory in the presence of others, is a cop-out. That means it's as if like who can sleep comfortable, in their ivory tower when they can, or in the kingdom when they hear screams from below. The idea is how great was divinity's world really. That means the greatness of the intelligence that in moments of silence and stillness peers through our eyes. There is something here that is more valuable than your most valuable idea. And life is changing so much, and there's so many different things to change to, that after some point you wonder, is the meaning of life really about just change? Well, because if it's about change, things always change. But if it's about something more than change, it could be the value. It could be not about like, yo, everybody's in a car and you got to quickly get to a destination. It could be like how you drove and what you did when you had a vehicle. You see, the moment we're all born right now, we all have equal opportunity of collective service. That means it took me a while to understand, but the world is designed and changed and protected by those people who care for it. To care for it, you must find something more important than you. So, what idea is more important than you? The first idea we come to is the idea of God, which means the unified origin and end is ultimate, is an ultimate power. The second thing is the outcome. So it's like whatever story you're in, you're going to at some point see human beings in a physical station. And really, what have the greatest people on this earth done? What have the greatest leaders done? They have guided man to a reality where the information processing is more efficient. When Martin Luther King shouted, I have a dream that my children are judged by their character, not by their how they look. As if human beings have had throughout history an ability to glimpse at a better life and to walk towards it. It's a force, it's a power that finds you. At some point in your life, when life stops making sense, when your own mind's justification for it is incomplete, through the humility of realizing how much more there is we don't know than we know. To be honest, my great conclusion has been this is a performer's world. This is a world where it's the performance that matters. Potential routes for the vision of man is ultimately a suggestion of where is human consciousness going as a destination. Now, nobody can know the far future, but we can have ideas on it. One answer stays where it is. So it stays where it is. It can travel through time. It can travel, if time was, let's say, a vertical dimension, a horizontal dimension. If time was a horizontal dimension, it would be like a parallel reality would be a vertical dimension, for example. So pretty much the human consciousness can stay where it is. It can travel to different instances of the moment. It can travel into parallel versions of the moment. It can just forget itself in the natural world and become cyber. This is a very strange future, but it is a possible one. If the world becomes too much of a messed up place, at least if the idea of man can continue, it is better than having nothing continue. So it would be as if at some point consciousness would be backed up technologically. That backup would in some sense create a cyber soul. So the actual soul may be gone, but its remnant isn't in cyberspace. Or it could be that, imagine like there's some person who's physically unhealthy and they just freeze their body, or their body's put in some, I wrote about this in my sci-fi, like human beings. Imagine like there's an addict, or there is someone who can't get rid of something and they're destroying themselves, or something is destroying them, so they reach this point where they're like, okay, it's time to pause the real world consciousness, shift consciousness into cyberspace so the body can heal. So in the future, I wouldn't be surprised if there's healing booths, healing buildings just hovering in the middle of the air. So the vision I had of these were like these giant like boxes, which are like building skyscrapers sideways in the air, right in the sky, and they fill like thousands and thousands of people who are living, they're still alive, conscious, but they are living life in cyberspace. Their bodies are just preserved as long as they can, and they're just becoming healthy. You see, it's a multidimensional problem, therefore requires a multidimensional answer, no? See, think of it this way. We have the concept and we have the context, and these are the two things, two dimensions that things can change. So the concept we have is being on Earth, okay? So let's say the context, so it's kind of like, context is on planet or off planet. So it's kind of like, okay, if I was to simplify this, I could stay on this earth, okay? Or I can go to another planet, okay? Or I can travel through time on this same earth, or I can go to a parallel earth. Or I could forget I'm on Earth and think I'm in cyberspace. So what does that make it? That makes it 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 options. So the potential routes are, okay, let me see. We stay human. We die off. We convert. Okay, let me see. I need to simplify this. So it would be as if like I can stay in the house, okay? I can leave the house. I can go to a different house, or I could go to a different floor of that house. And you can always leave the house. So actually, yeah, I can kind of try to see what the answer to this question would be in a simpler way. So let's say there's a person in a car. The car can stay. They can drive the car. They can leave the car. Yeah. So we can either leave. I mean, it's kind of like leave or stay, actually. So what happens to the body? Yeah, the body is a dualism. Either we stay human or we don't. That's when it comes to the body. If I was to think of the potential routes to the human mind can stay the body. The human mind can be transferred into a different body. The human mind can transcend beyond the boundaries of a body. Or the human mind cannot be a body at all. So it's funny. When it comes to existence, it's all or nothing. When it comes to our psychology, it's infinite continuity or nothing. It's really what you identify as. You know, what if the human experience is something where when you're young, you identify as a physical being? And the older you get, the older you're getting, the more you're getting acquainted with your non-physical self. Right? And at the end of life, there is no such thing as death. There's just a metamorphosis of the caterpillar into the butterfly. Where your attention gone has been slowly becoming you. But the cool thing about this life, and religious texts say it well, that it's a test. And the test means you're being tested on your performance and honesty. Honesty with the information, and also what you do when you're honest with the information. When I'm honest with the information, civilization is not that advanced. What do we have? We have like writing technology, speaking technology, you know, we've discovered engines. But when you look at basic human life, it's kind of like our minds have reached a point where I think they expect the body to happen. You know, there could be this thing that in the next 100 to 200 years, human beings are going to shift from having most of their value of the moment being on a physical sense. So do you understand? That means there was a time where animals, it was just physical bodies. They're like, oh my God, puzzle pieces, let's reproduce. But now when you fall in love with someone, it's not just physical. There's something else there. You know, any human being I've seen, my flaw since childhood was that I was like, yeah, that's who that person is. You know, they say don't judge a book by the cover, but when you don't see what's inside the book, all you have is the cover to judge. It's just stuff. The world is just events. Events will take place repeatedly. So many things will happen. And so many things will happen whether we're here or not. And that's the cool thing about being a human being. You're part of something bigger than yourself. And that's the test. the test of how you conducted yourself when you were alive in a species. That means you're not an individual right now. What if the test is not the test of an individual? What if human consciousness was interconnected in ways unknown? What if everybody, is the one soul that fell? The mysteries of reality, the ability of our attention to create form or to fill out space with form. It's effort. To master your effort means to comprehend the secrets of your attention. What does that mean? That means what decides where the value of reality goes. And you know what it is? I think it's greatness. And I think love, peace, benevolence, these are all qualities of greatness. Why? Because once you imagine the greatest being right now, that being would have nothing else to be great. That means it's like when you're the greatest, the world is left. If the world is not great, then you were great where? The potential routes are pretty much how long can we remain human? How long can we carry out, the behaviors that keep us human? And there could be other routes. It could be like suddenly we make contact with an advanced extraterrestrial species. It could be we suddenly create advanced technologies. It could be there's, assistance from other realms or other types of guidance. And it could be that the real trust of life is how you can, the real test of life is how you can trust it. An advanced civilization. Tell me something that's more beautiful. That means it's as if all those people who wanted to go to heaven, imagine before you went to heaven, you brought heaven to earth. You built paradise on earth. We justified, we truly saw how great the creation of the Creator was. How greatly it passed the test. The test could be in the result of it. Potential routes for the vision of man. It's all about what information we choose to make important out of the infinite angles of perception there are. It's funny, I thought the destiny of the human species was in its own hands, but the hands of the species are limited to its vision. So to advance vision means how deeply did we care for the world to see its greatness. There's a view that greatness must be achieved, and then there's a greatness that's already there. It's the presence of a great world as the linguistic illusions of a biological entity break. Once you lift off from your own world, you get to see what I would say, I can call it, you can call it unknown land. You see the uncharted aspects of reality. You see the meaningless. Just imagine if you saw an extraterrestrial do weird stuff, you're like, what the fuck is that? Right? So there's moments in life where you find states of, and a state is another way of saying with what sort of intensity is the moment composed. God. Okay. You know, there was this view where somebody said, from this was a mystical, more like, I think it was something maybe Alan Watts said, that at some point you realize what's underlying everything is a blissful state of how advanced things are. He didn't say how advanced things are, but they are. It's as if the potential, like let's say you see someone playing soccer, you realize, all right, that person has a potential to score a goal. Similarly, there is the potential to be an advanced being by just being in an advanced world. To trust it. That means if you were imagine you were in the most advanced world and you wanted to be an advanced being, all you had to do was just trust. Because if you cannot trust your world, like that's not advanced. I gotta trust the world when I'm giving these talks. Because if I don't trust the world, I'm part of the world. It's like I haven't trusted myself either. Anyways, guys, thank you for listening. And wonder, truly wonder, like, how many other ways are there to look at the moment that we haven't looked at? Greatness could just be like the human species double checking its true meaning. Thank you.